In Tekken's massive roster of characters, though the likes of Kazuya, Heihachi, and Jin have long been the most prominent and most central to the series' overarching story, there are others who perhaps have equally strong connections to the core narrative, but have still managed to gain immense popularity within the fanbase. Among them, it's hard to think of many that are as widely beloved as King, a mainstay of the franchise that has appeared in every single mainline installment, albeit in different incarnations, and has gone on to become one of Tekken's most iconic characters over the years. The masked wrestler will, of course, be stepping back into the limelight with the launch of Tekken 8 later this month, and ahead of that, here we're going to take a look at his entire story through the course of this franchise and that of his predecessor. In fact, let's start there. As Tekken fans will know all too well, King is more of a moniker than a single person, one that has been held by two characters over the course of the franchise. The original King, who was first introduced in the series' first installment, used to be an orphan street urchin, and one who had a particular fondness for brutal street fights and brawls no less. However, when one of his fights left him on the verge of death, he staggered into a monastery, where, after being nursed back to health, he saw the error of his ways. King's new mission in life became to build an orphanage that he could use to help children in the hopes that they wouldn't go down the same path he had in his youth. That, however, was a mission that would require considerable money, and to make that money, King decided he would start fighting in wrestling matches. While doing so, he would don a jaguar mask to keep his identity secret, and as a result, he came to be known by many as the Beast Priest. During these early career wrestling bouts, King also crossed paths with Armor King, another wrestler who would also wear a jaguar mask during fights, and a rivalry was promptly formed between the two. Eventually, King's goal to gather enough funds for his orphanage turned his attention to the first King of Iron Fist tournament. Hoping to win the tournament to grab the prize money, he entered the tournament, where he once again crossed paths with Armor King. King emerged victorious in the fight between the two as he had in the past, and from that point forward their rivalry gave way to not just mutual respect, but actual friendship. Meanwhile, King would go on to finish third in the tournament, which meant he had won enough money to start up his orphanage in earnest. For a while after that, King's life proceeded peaceful and to plan, but eventually things took a dark turn for him. One of the children in his care tragically passed away, after which King took to alcohol and once again plunged into his life on the streets. He was, however, brought back on track by Armor King, now one of his closest friends, with whose help he decided to recover, train, and enter the second King of Iron Fist tournament. Though he lost, the process still helped him bring his life back on track, and King started to teach the children in his care basic fighting and self-defense skills. Sadly, things only went from bad to worse at that point. Around this point in the series' story, Ogre is awakened through the actions of the Tekken Force, and the monstrous fighter goes on a rampage that sees him killing renowned martial artists and fighters all over the world. As luck would have it, King turns out to be one of several people to be killed by Ogre. But that's not the end of King's story, because in his absence, a second fighter emerged and took up his mantle. The second King was a Mexican orphan under the original King's care, aged 24 at the time of King's death. King 2, we're just going to call him King for convenience's sake, realized that the orphanage was going to be in massive trouble without the original King to take care of it, as a result of which the new King decided to take up the same jaguar mask and begin entering wrestling matches. The new King, however, was nowhere near as skilled as his predecessor and went on to perform abysmally in pretty much every bout he participated in. At this point, however, he was met by Armor King, who decided to train his old friend's ward not only so he could continue to take care of the orphanage, but so he could also one day avenge the original King's death. King spent the next 4 years training with Armor King, following which he entered the third King of Iron Fist tournament, now a fully trained and fierce fighter, with his only goal being to fight and defeat Ogre. Things didn't go to plan though, as you may have predicted. King failed to win the tournament, and not long afterward he learned that Armor King had been killed after trying to stop a bar brawl in Arizona. The man responsible, Craig Marduk, was slapped with 10 years in prison, though vowing revenge against him. King used the money he had accumulated over the years to bribe officials and get Marduk released early several years ahead of time. Upon getting out of prison, Marduk immediately received a letter telling him to enter the next King of Iron Fist tournament. In the tournament, King and Marduk came head-to-head, with the former emerging victorious in their bout, leaving the latter heavily injured to the point of being hospitalized. To finish the job, King went to Marduk's hospital room, but just as he was about to deal the killing blow, after seeing a picture of Marduk with his elderly parents, King realized the foolishness of his quest for vengeance and decided to spare the life of the man who killed Armor King. Marduk, however, was much less zen about the whole thing, and humiliated by his loss to King, decided to issue a public challenge to him for another fight while live on TV and wearing Armor King's Jaguar mask. King accepted the challenge, and during the 5th King of Iron Fist tournament, once again fought and defeated Marduk. This time, however, both responded in pretty mature fashion, shaking each other's hands with mutual respect. But though one problem seemed to be dying down, another seemed to rise up, because not long afterward, Marduk was attacked by a man who, much to the surprise of both him and King, had donned the mask and entire look of Armor King. Hoping to learn more about this mysterious assailant's identity and how he is connected to the dead fighter, Marduk and King decided to enter the 6th King of Iron Fist tournament, hoping to lure the attacker out. Eventually, however, King was able to unravel the mystery upon learning that the new Armor King is the original's younger brother. Just as King once inherited his predecessor's mantle to avenge his death, so too has this new Armor King donned his brother's Jaguar mask in hopes of hunting down his killer, who, of course, happens to be Marduk. Unsurprisingly, things would go on to culminate in a vicious fight between Marduk and the new Armor King, though as it turned out, neither of them emerges as the winner. Both of them are critically injured, and both find themselves in the hospital, which of course means that King was once again in desperate need of a healthy cash injection, not just for the continued care of the orphanage, but also to ensure a quick and proper recovery for Marduk and the new Armor King. Sometime later, the two of them awoke in the hospital as well, and King was able to convince them to not instantly come to violent blows, but instead meet each other in fair combat. At King's behest, Marduk issued a conditional challenge to Armor King, which he accepted, with the two deciding that if Armor King won, Marduk would retire, but if Marduk won, Armor King would give up his mask and his name. And that's where King, Armor King, and Marduk's story concludes in Tekken 7, which presumably means we'll be getting a proper resolution of that particular arc when Tekken 8 rolls around. What else the future might have in store for King remains to be seen, but with the game set to launch not long from now, on January 26th, we at least don't have to wait too long to find out. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on Gaming Bolt.